disabled, you can't do anything. This Namibian is the world champion at hair sport.
I have won 36 gold medals. I won all of these medals through javelin, judo and discus.
Her disability has not closed doors for Anna. She works in Katutura Hospital and she has 2 children. Last year she smashed the world javelin record. People believe disabled means incapable. This idea is one of the disabled people's biggest handicaps. To counter that, disabled Namibians want to make their voices heard.
There should be a movement of disabled people through which the disabled could really voice their problems and look for solutions to these problems. The disabled form the most neglected part of society. They never had any chance to education, and even if you have to look at the structures presently existing in Namibia, they are not even accessible to the disabled. And they are neglected in such a way that most decisions are made on their behalf rather than participating in the decision-making process, which directly affects them.
Too often, disabled people are isolated and thought to have nothing to contribute. Paulus, like thousands of others, was disabled during the war to free Namibia. His foot was blown off by a mine. After the accident, Paulus was trained and became a skilled brickmaker in Tsuob's rehabilitation center in Angola, in KwaZulu. When he returned to Namibia, first he went to a center. Then he decided he wanted to make his own way and fend for himself and his family. He built himself a house, every brick his own work. He is a hard worker and very determined. His fields are flourishing. He is the breadwinner for 6, but he still has many worries about the future. He wants a secure job. But for all his talents, Paulus may never take his proper place in society.
Our people really don't yet accept the reality of a disabled person being able to do something. They are still thinking in terms of handouts. They are still thinking in terms of institutions that will assist them forever. Now, this is not the aim of the government. Our aim, in fact, is to try and create possibilities for these people, either to be trained in order to be integrated in the normal community after training, or to be given an opportunity of taking part in a project.
There are centers for disabled people, but not many. Here at the church center of Nakayele in Ovamboland, care for the disabled was mainly medical. The skills taught were things the disabled were traditionally taught, like netting, not house building. Returnees from exile were repatriated here. People thought this could be their home if they could not find their family or needed more care. When they arrived, the disabled returnees started to make changes. They were interested in self-reliance and started a garden. They were trained in growing vegetables and cleared and planted the land for food. At Nakayale, the disabled returnees would rather live by the work of their own hands, not by someone paying the bill. They are more sure of their own future and their chances. The card deck may be stacked against Namibia's disabled. Some days there is little to do, other days they are full of plans, sharing ideas. Out of these talks, structures for their future may take shape. Even the netting and basket making has helped transform many lives. It was their first chance to be productive, to feel they could provide for themselves. The money helps them perhaps to buy things like wheelchairs or radios. It also helps prepare for the day when they leave Nakayale. All have their own ideas of how they'll use their skills to support themselves and their families. Eliphas was injured in a car crash. He wants to make and sell a wider range of clothes and is looking for help.
I came to Nakayale in 1985, and since then I have been knitting huts and so on. I don't want always to be knitting. If I only had a sewing machine, I could make dresses, shirts and trousers and so on.
Few support the ideas others had for them, that Nakayale would be their permanent home. Encouraged by what they can earn from selling goods, most want to move out of the center and take care of themselves. Views differ. Some prefer to wait for help to come from the government and from donors. Others prefer to make their own way. They do not want to wait.
First, they have to organize themselves, and they have to demand their rights from the government and from the community. I also feel that they have to do away with the submission they had in the past, that they are not people equal to others, and the submission that they thought that disability means inability, not assisting and helping yourself. So through determinations and acceptance of equality in the community, they will have then to embark on initiatives and programs in order to create sources of income.
The seeds of these organizations are sown as ideas through adult education. Changing attitudes is the start.
To teach our adults to participate in factories, to participate in the mines, to participate in the farms, to cultivate, and they will be taught how to cultivate and when to cultivate. That is the importance of adult education.
Armed with new attitudes and with the ideas of self-reliance gained in exile, disabled people at Nakayale got together and started to ask for a better deal. Justina Ipinga remembers.
It was the war disabled themselves who came to the office to demand assistance in the form of money or material so that they could start some self-help schemes.
Many of the disabled have also learned carpentry and other building skills. To put this to work, the people had to organize. They joined forces, they drew up a constitution and elected a management committee. They registered a cooperative, Kalola Hamukota Co-op. They drew up an initial budget to get them into business. They were fitting together the pieces of a new life of self-reliance. Even with the limited resources they could find, they felt ready to go into production, making furniture, doors, desks, and chairs. Some feel they could do more if they had more help.
The main problem is that we don't have enough materials and tools. If the government would help us, then we will be able to stand by ourselves in the near future.
The cooperative took advantage of a local opportunity. It won a contract to make furniture for the center's adult literacy program. Slotting together a working cooperative was hard. Some early members did not like the work and left. Now the remainder are hoping to broaden their talents.
The knowledge that I have is not sufficient. I need additional skills to add to what I already know. I need more training.
Training can come from within the group, and it can be encouraged. At Nakayale, a large new training center is being built. It will house programs designed and run by disabled people themselves. Many were young when they went into exile and went to war. They feel basic schooling will open windows to a brighter future. Their aim is to make full use of the new center and its facilities. Changes are coming too in some of the other traditional centers. Angula, also in the north, has been run by churches for many years. It caters for blind, hearing and speech-impaired people and mentally and physically disabled children, teaching them communication skills. People can weave whole new lives together with training. For example, blind people can be taught how to get about and how to prepare food. They can even make beautiful handicraft that they will never see. By selling this, they can move towards supporting themselves. Traditionally, they were often seen as useless, not people with a lot to contribute.
They were not regarded as people who can do something in a society or in the community. But as we trained them to make these carpets and basketry and brushes making and so on, the community has now realized that these are people like us.
Building new attitudes is the start of a better life. For children, the possibilities are large if the thinking is creative. With proper stimulation and games, there is more long-term chance of improvement than just through care. The center is growing, adding new buildings, realizing that progress can be made. Soon it will be able to take up to 100 more children. There will be changes in the facilities on offer. Good teacher training is a big part of the work. Teachers, pastors, and other people can be trained to work with these children rather than just to care for them. Stimulating their senses and imaginations can make improvements even in the most severe cases such as cerebral palsy. Human qualities such as dedication, love, and patience also have a very important part to play in helping these children. The right environment and the right support can help so many disabled people develop their potential and combat their disabilities, both physical and those from other people's attitudes to them. Will these children be able to look forward to a future when they have a full part to play as adult humans and as full members of a free, equal and reconstructed Namibian society? Disability does not stop people enjoying life or looking forward to the future. In one part of southern Namibia, disabled people who have faced years of neglect inside the country are almost transforming the landscape with their energy and new ideas. In Mariental, a new organization is tearing up the south. Its name is Komihos, meaning a gift of grace. It was thought up, organized and run by local disabled people and uses this building. Disabled from all over Mariental make the greatest of efforts to get to work in their new center. When they first started to organize, they asked the government to make it possible by contributing a bus so that people could come and work together. Mariental is a town with much poverty and unemployment, and disabled people can be the last in line. Many of the members of Komihos were homeless and sleeping rough. Many did not even receive pensions. Talking together, they realized they had common problems and they could have common solutions if they managed to organize. They started to talk and dream of what they needed, what work they could do to transform their lives and to support themselves. There would be no stopping them once they put their imaginations and determinations to work. Once the group was set up, it decided to look for a place the disabled could call their own, in the center of town.
In November month, die gebouw toegekend.
During November, the building was given to us. Oxfam supplied the paint and the disabled did the work themselves.
In begin November, het ons onze
We moved in on the 1st of November. The women started sewing and the men worked in the garden.
Waar die vrouens besig was met die naaldwerk en die manne buite in die tuin.
Minister Marco Hausiku opened the building last November. He said he felt as proud as a father to share in the people's celebrations. Not just disabled people, but others from Mariental and even from Windhoek and further came to share a day of triumph and hope. The opening was only one stage in stitching together a group forged from mobilization and other hard work. The group started when about 60 disabled people from around the town came together to see what they could do for themselves. The group set up an organizing committee and drew up a constitution so that they would be able to work together well. They looked at their skills and what they could share. They set up sewing and knitting groups and a community gardening project. Inside the building, the members are gaining a lot. They are friends, enjoying each other's company. They are learning new skills and mobility through work. But most important, they want to support themselves and their group on what they make and sell. They don't want to depend on anyone.
I'm working now with thread. First, I complete this pattern, and when it is finished, it will be dyed.
En daarna, als ik klaar is met alles, al hier goed uitgewerkt het, zo toegewerkt het, moet ik hem dye.
We sew the pattern so that the dye can't come where the pattern is, and then when it is finished, we remove the threads.
Nie in die plekken moet vatten. So, als ons klaar die materiaal gedye het, maak ons al hier goed weer los.
The pattern that is left is of a flower.
Nou vormt dit 'n blom.
The clothes are already selling, earning some income. Half the money goes to buying materials and help other parts of the group. A quarter to food and medical bills and a quarter to the sewer. But money is only a small part of what they gain from the project.
Yes, the project has improved my life. Sometimes I feel so alone at home that I would even like to sleep here. I feel very comfortable with the people. I don't want to leave them. Some days I don't want to go home. We are working for the country to show an example to our people. Money? We are not working for money. We are just helping each other. The money we earn is for clothing, food, and hospital bills, and just a little something for ourselves.
There are only a few machines and many people eager to use them to make clothes. The group are hard workers. If there is not enough money from work, they even pool their pensions. Other group members decide on marketing, what items are in demand, and whether to set up a stall.
When people are determined, when they feel that, when they are convinced that they can do something for themselves, then there are always ways. I remember that in the past I have seen Mariental, the most neglected community in many cases, but on top of that, these communities have been trying to solve their own problems with the assistance of the government, but in most cases they did the job themselves as far as organizations was concerned. And my personal feeling really is that I like the attitudes and the commitments of the colleagues who are taking part in the Mariental project.
Part of this commitment is shown by the way they have built a group that brings together young and old members. They find new activities so that different people's skills can contribute. These shells have come from far, brought back by Callista from holiday at Ludres. The ornaments will sell for a few rand, and many group members are really enjoying making them and being creative. The glue that holds them together is made from melted polystyrene cups. The finished shells are painted.
I'm painting this tree, and I can also make shapes of people and elephants.
An olifant. Ik het baie verlang vir hierdie projek gewerk.
I was longing very much to work for this project because I don't have work.
Namibia, hy help vir my so beter ek goed.
And Namibia is helping me. That's why I came here.
Ek is tevrede oor vir hierdie behandeling wat ons altyd behandel word en hierdie werkies wat ons gekry het.
I'm happy with the care and the work that we have got from the project. Some of us don't even have a place to stay, and so we are helped like people are supposed to be helped. If I sell these shelves, with the money I buy food, or something to wash myself, or clothing.
Making shell ornaments is fascinating, but John says he prefers to be outside, so why the preference for gardening?
It gives me food, makes me satisfied, and gives me money, which is why I like it.
Originally, they had thought of making bricks as their cooperative work, but when they looked at what skills and interests they had within the group, growing fruit and vegetables was the obvious choice. The group started to link up with other groups to share ideas and know-how. They sent a first team of 5, both men and women, to Okahanja to a Rosing Foundation course in gardening. The produce is for themselves and to sell. The Comihos group are an example to other community groups, both disabled and able. They know their future is in their own hands, and they welcome the opportunity this gives.
We are not going to play. We are going to work hard. I want the disabled to know what they mean to others and to the country.
Vir die handel en vir die ekonomie van die land kan beteken. So die mense, die ouers en vriende rondom.
The parents must assist their children to show what they can do.
So die mense nie die web na die spinnerak kan vaskleef en dan vorentoe kom om te bewys dat hulle ook iets kan beteken.
My ambition is to show the whole of Namibia that the disabled are also people.
Dat die gestremdes ook mense is.
Throughout, Minister Hausiku has been a friend. He visits the project frequently as a good example to other supporters and knows many of the members personally. He is encouraged by their dynamism, by the way the group is already going about the area to meet other disabled. Comihos hopes to coordinate a southern region of a national disabled association. Minister Hausiku is happy to see the new activities. Their organizational strength and unity points the way to success. The disabled have the right to live as fully as any other Namibian, but they have to take this right for themselves and not sit and wait to be given it. Comihos shows disabled and indeed other groups how much can be done.
I have tried myself already to initiate some trips. I, in fact, took there the first group from Windhoek, who were complaining so much about negligence from the government and from the community. And when they look at what the others were doing, they started organizing themselves. And I was told that they have had several meetings now trying to follow the advice from the other group in launching their own projects.
Attitudes towards disabled Namibians are being changed by the disabled themselves. They are showing what they can organize and are capable of. They almost have an advantage with their disabilities, as their common bonds can help them build stronger groups. With their combined strength, it seems almost anything is possible. Now the disabled needs to combat their biggest handicaps, the attitudes of the rest of Namibian society. People seem to feel that the efforts of the disabled will never bear fruit, that nothing they do could possibly succeed. One giant step came in March 1991 when Namibia's disabled formed a national organization. Their aim is to organize together to change the way they are treated and seen.
It never happened before that disabled could come together and deliberate on their problems. So therefore, a national movement of disabled people would really be a forum where disabled people of all kinds could come together and then look into their problems and solutions.
This movement was launched at a National Congress of the Disabled. The day started as the newly elected chair, Tulike Nakundi, accompanied the guest of honor, Namibia's President Sam Nujoma, into the crowded hall. With the president came his wife, Kovambo, and senior politicians including the minister and deputy of the Land Resettlement and Rehabilitation Ministry. Those who gathered to hear the president's words of encouragement to the new movement included disabled people from all over Namibia, journalists and people from embassies and aid agencies.
It is a tremendous honor for me to have been asked to open the first National Congress of Disabled People in Namibia. I am here today to urge all of you to take this opportunity forward to embrace even more disabled members of our society and together build a new future. There will be many challenges ahead of you, but through the creation and the consolidation of a truly democratic movement, this will surely be met. The able-bodied often shun and poke fun at the disabled. My government recognizes the need to integrate disabled people into society on fair, equitable, and non-exploitative terms. You must therefore take the lead in your own development and in finding solutions to your problems. You must become our teachers and show us that you do not want to be the passive receivers of charity. You should show the world that being disabled does not mean that you are unable to contribute to the development process now underway in our independent Namibia. In conclusion, I would like personally to contribute a check of 2,000 rand to the Congress of the Disabled People.
The launch was not just speeches and presentations. Most of the day was spent in intense group discussions and workshops. Delegates chose a name for their movement, now called the National Organization of Disabled People of Namibia. They decided that its members would be people with all kinds of disabilities, their families and supporters, and organizations. They set up a network of regional committees and discussed how the new body could advise the government and help on new laws. It will be the voice of disabled people, giving them a strong role in national reconciliation and reconstruction. Changing attitudes was high on the agenda, planting the idea that disability is not a handicap.
Me, I'm in this wheelchair for 5 years. People look at me, they think there's something wrong with my head. Yes. There's nothing wrong with my brain whatsoever. Yes. So we need to rehabilitate disabled people so that they can know that they can be useful, they can be of use to society, and they will know, listen, I am like this, but I am still capable, very capable.
Some of the disabled's capabilities were to the fore later in the evening, with songs, drama, and poems from several groups. This is the ever-popular choir of the Comihos group of Mariental. The evening's poems and lyrics told of happiness and joy. They also spoke about discrimination and the oppression black Namibians, both able and disabled, have shared in the country's apartheid past. Above all, they showed people's determination to work together, as the new movement will prove. Star turn-up of the evening was a solidarity performance by one of Namibia's top singers, Jackson Kojewa. The night became one of celebration and triumph as the disabled and their supporters took to the floor to share their joy in the new organization. The disabled of Namibia are aiming high. For people who know hard work and determination, the sky's the limit.